In this video, I'm going to assume that you've already done all of the hard work of the assignment that's known as Native Son, and you are just about to be finished. You have a beautiful Gantt chart in which you've decided exactly how to coordinate 73 different tasks. The only thing that you need to do is submit your work. This is otherwise known as the hunt for congratulations, because you've already done all the hard decision making. The only thing you need to do now is to claim the credit for your work. Now, this video is essentially in two halves. You might have more questions on one half versus the other. I don't know. The first thing that we're going to talk about here is what I call harvesting your numbers, and that you have a Gantt chart. And how do you go from that Gantt chart, which is yours, to the actual submission on the Native Son site. The second half of the video is, let's say that you did that and you didn't get a congratulations message. What, troubleshooting your submission, what are some very logical things that you could do next, maybe to fix that situation? So, you've already done this work, right? You've created a beautiful Gantt chart. We're never going to see that. It's time, though, to claim credit for it. You need 73 numbers. They are the day that you want to start working on each of the 73 tasks. That's what we need to know. That's all the information that the simulator needs to know to piece together your Gantt chart numerically and gauge what the quality of it actually is. So, here's the good news. If you were using the macro-enabled spreadsheet, the one that I said, it's the most recent one, it's the one that I use to create solutions to test data sets for Native Son. The good news is that you don't need to do any harvesting. These numbers right here that you were putting in the screen, and then you kept clicking click here and it kept painting the Gantt chart. These numbers are exactly the numbers that need to go into the website. Because if you look, this task number and the description is copy-paste the exact same thing that's here on the website. So that's great. Now, if you didn't use that one, macros were giving you a problem, or you have the Apple operating system, it's okay. If you were using the conflict checker, there is another shortcut right here that you might be interested in. It's described in this box farthest to the right. Basically, there's some formulas in the spreadsheet that every time you decide to work on a task, it imports and displays the name of the task on the first day that you started to work. What the instructions are saying is, in order to convert that into something that you just enter here, once you're done with all your planning, copy all of this, all of it, paste it in a different spreadsheet as text, sort on the task number, and then the other one, the days, that's exactly what you need. The sorting is knocking out all the blanks in between. Now, if you worked with this one, but what I just said seems very cryptic, I don't get it, what do you mean by paste as text? Okay, don't worry about it. Or, you might be protesting, well, I didn't use that. I created my own Gantt chart. For instance, this is, painted it with formatting in Excel, or I actually did a lovely job on paper. What am I supposed to do? Well, the one universal technique for harvesting your numbers, it works regardless of how you created the Gantt chart. You have to get a blank sheet of paper. You're done with the Gantt chart, get a blank sheet of paper. First, make yourself a worksheet. You need a list of 73 blanks numbered. They represent the tasks. Okay, then what? Next, look at your Gantt chart. Get some kind of straight edge, I just recommend. Okay, begin at the beginning. See, the straight edge is up here at day 1, and say, okay, are there any tasks that start on this particular day? And actually, yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. For instance, 54, 55, and 56 all start on day 1. You note that. You fill in these blanks. And so does 59, 60, 61, actually 62, 63, 64 all starts on day 1. Wow. Okay, I got a lot of blanks filled in right away. When I'm done with that, I say, all right, slide it down. I notice that on day 4, there's some tasks starting. That's task 12, right? Starts on day 4, fill it in. This is task 1 here, starts on day 4, right? Fill that in. Slide the ruler down. Oh, looks like the next task to begin is 49. And what day is that? That's day 12. So I would fill that in. We do this until they're all full, right? Because it's that information that goes right in here. And so that's why I say harvesting. That's the true harvesting. You just do that carefully because you need those numbers the day that each task starts on to put it in here. Then, down at the bottom of this list, that's what this is, right? You'd have put in a number for task 73, the absolute last task. You would press send answers. Now, what we really hope when you press send answers that you see is the congratulations message. Now, this is snipped out of, right, when you press send answers, it returns to the screen a report about your plan. It also emails you a copy of that report. You're hoping you see the congratulations message. You have submitted a feasible schedule. Okay, that means it didn't find any mistakes, and it also means that it got it done within 2 years. But come on, I mean, anybody can film this movie within 2 years. Which means that if the schedule is found to be unique work, you'll automatically be eligible for full credit. Okay, so that's what everybody is aiming for. Now, first off, this sample, don't panic. This I took out of the middle of the report. If your plan is absolutely flawless when you enter it in, the top part of your report, you'll see a series of checks where it'll say like checking Matt's schedule, no problems. Checking the director's schedule, no problems, no problems. Scroll down. You'll see the congratulations message. And then there'll be a bunch of stuff underneath that. Because if you have a feasible schedule, it's time to start reporting how good a schedule is it, like how much money did you spend, right? How long did it take? And it provides you with all that information. But look in the middle, right? Do you see the congratulations? Another way that you can check that is back out to your main menu. You know, you were using Native Son to enter the data entry page, but the whole time there's been this check my portfolio option. That option pulls up a screen that tells you how many times you've run a schedule and how many of them have come back as full credit. So that's just another way, in case you weren't confident, to confirm that in fact, yes, it actually worked. Now, before we move off of this, one note. It does say if this schedule is found to be unique work, meaning after the deadline, after everybody's turned in all of their schedules. Now, I know that probably if you're listening to this video right now, since it's the 3rd video, that it is highly likely that you are exactly the type of person that you do your own work. You don't need, like, you know, any lecture about this. Nonetheless, be very, very careful. If you're the type of person that, you know that this is an independent assignment and you have done your own work, you didn't take a copy of somebody else's work, especially take a copy of somebody else's work. You know, they worked very hard to create that schedule and, oh, I'll move a couple little tasks so that it won't look like a copy. These things are obvious on the back side of the system that generates this. I just wrote a little machine learning code that goes through and it pulls out not only all the copies, but all of the obvious derivatives. Very, very easy to see. Oh, this is the same thing as that, except you move a couple things on unit 6. Or this is the same thing as that, except you moved a couple things over here. Okay? Those don't count as full credit. It's only worth full credit once. Now, I know if you're listening to this video, especially if you're still listening to me now, right? You're not the type of person that would do that. Okay, but you may be the type of person that falls victim to that kind of behavior. Before we move on to anything further, protect your numbers. Your Gantt chart, it took you forever to create that, right? Those 73 numbers, though, if somebody says, you know, it's getting near the deadline, oh man, I just don't know what to do with this. Can I see what you did? You know, you say, well, yeah, sure. Like, for instance, here, I'm done. This is what mine looked like. Don't do that. Okay, they already waited too late, which means they didn't listen to any of the rest of this stuff, and they're going to think, oh, okay, well, I'll put in what you did, and they're going to take credit for your work. You're going to get snagged on this, and this snagging happens at grading, okay, not right now as you're running stuff. All right, anyway, no more about that. No more about that, but let's talk about something else, and it happens. What if we don't see the congratulations message? What if when you say send answers, you see something like this? I hope not something exactly like this, because this is actually a portion of a very, very, very bad schedule that I created arbitrarily. But what you can see is that there's obviously a lot of mistakes, including a day in which the actor playing the character, you know, as Matt, is 27, signed 27 different things on that day, right? There's no way the schedule could actually be used in reality. Okay, what should you do? First and foremost, don't panic. You say, oh, I worked forever on this and look, it didn't run. I don't have the congratulations message. It's telling me all of this other stuff. Okay, we just need to work on this a little bit more probably. Probably your schedule wasn't as bad as the one I was showing you. This is troubleshooting now, okay? Didn't get the congratulations message. First off, before we go any further with the rest of the stuff, remember the back button on your browser, because you worked very, very carefully to enter 73 numbers. Most browsers, right, if you hit the back button, you can return to that page and the 73 numbers are still there. Sometimes, especially like Apple operating system, not necessarily so, but most of the time. What you say, well, why is this important? Because you didn't get the congratulations message, so I'm assuming there's a few things that need to be fixed, and it's awfully nice if you don't have to re-enter everything again. Okay, now, so didn't get the congratulations message. Absolute first thing to do before you do anything else is check for typos, typographical errors, clerical errors in entering your schedule. We'll talk about that first. What is your supposed to be checking for? And then I'll share, you know, if in fact there actually are some genuine mistakes, what I call quick hacks, some of my favorite tricks for fixing things fast. Okay, we always check for typos first. The simulator can't see your Gantt chart. If I had $1 for every time somebody said to me, there's not a mistake, there's a problem with the computer because there's not a mistake. Look at my Gantt chart. Those things do not overlap. That person is not two places at once. Right. On the Gantt chart, they don't. And that person isn't. But the simulator can't see your Gantt chart, and that's not what was actually entered into the screen. So before we worry about changing decisions in the Gantt chart, let's just check that the Gantt chart, what it's expressing, was exactly what was entered into the data entry screen. Now, if you harvested your numbers manually, right, then there's two things to check. Because if you harvested your numbers manually, the first thing you should check is that harvest was actually accurate. Now, what is it that I'm talking about? I mean, we went through with the ruler. We were finding when various tasks started. Like, for instance, task 49 is what I'm pointing at. It starts on day 12, so I put a 12 here. Just go back over that very, very carefully again and make sure that you did that accurately. Because you only need to have, like, say I didn't write a 12 here for task 49. That is the day that it starts on. But say that I accidentally wrote 10 for some reason, or I can't read my own handwriting. Sometimes that happens. And I thought that was a 10. 10 is what I would have put into the data entry screen. 10 is what would have been simulated, and that may be the source of the problem. So it's not like there's anything here that needs to be fixed, but we need to, oh yeah, remember that, hit the back button, we need to fix that. Now, let's say that you did check very, very carefully. No, the harvest is perfectly accurate, so to speak, or you didn't have to do that because you already have your numbers because you were using, for instance, the macro-enabled spreadsheet. Everybody, regardless of how they did their Gantt chart and how they got the starting day numbers, everybody should check for this next. Always check that the numbers that we entered into the web page were the numbers that we meant, right? Now you say, well, okay, but how can I be sure of that? This is the key. Look at the bottom of your report to verify those numbers. You got a report that you're upset with, right? Because it doesn't say congratulations. It's saying snotty little things about somebody's two places at once, and you don't understand why. Look at the very, very bottom of that report, and you'll see this long statement. Below is the original schedule that this report is based on. It's giving you the numbers that were put into the screen back. If your schedule has problems, use it to check one or more problems caused by typographical errors in just data entry on the screen. You can see that this demonstration example, this is the report, right, that I first put up that big chunk of errors where Matt was 27 places at the same time. I created that report, which was huge, long list of errors. That was just one little chunk of it. I created that by going to the data entry page and just putting 1 for all 73. Basically saying, you know what, each and every one of these tasks I want to start on it on day 1. So the bottom of the error report, that's what it's reporting back to me. So it might be that you look at this, get out your list of starting days, what you were entering into the screen, and just very carefully, one by one, verify that it's reporting back exactly the number that you meant. Because it might be you get to like task 14, you go, oh, wait a minute, day 1? No, it's day 21. Oh, data entry error. Remember, hit the back button, look up task 14, put 21 instead of 1. All the other numbers are hopefully there. Most of the time they are, depending on your operating system. Hit send answers again. See what happens. Now, if you did make mistakes, that is to say you went through these other steps and no, what I meant for my Gantt chart is exactly what was entered, then we need to, and we're entering that phase of, well, let's fix the mistakes, right? Even if you don't fix all of the mistakes, your work can still be graded for partial credit, but come on, we want all of the points, so let's see what we can do in order to get the mistakes out. Remember, if you're revising, before we go into any things you could try, and you make your schedule worse, I mean, it happens, you haven't erased anything that you had before. It doesn't work that way. It's all accumulating in a portfolio. Don't worry about that. Now, one of the things, the theme don't panic, one of the things to remember is you get multiple error messages if you have two tasks that are overlapping. Say that maybe what happened is there were two filming tasks like on the same location and you didn't mark the first one long enough. It was like 5 days and you accidentally only marked 4 days and then you started in and marked the other one behind it, and so they're overlapping by a day. You will get an error message because the location is in conflict. You can get an error you'll get an error message for every person that's shared between the two. If you accidentally overlapped the same two tasks by 3 days, you'll get 3 error messages for each day in each case, like it could be upwards of a dozen messages when there's really only one thing wrong. Okay? It's not each one of those messages needs to be fixed separately. They're all being created by the fact that two tasks are overlapping. We just need to find those tasks, or that's what you would look at next. What is the origin of these messages? And move one of them. Change the start date. Move it someplace else in the schedule. Oh, one of my favorite hacks. If the task that you've decided to move, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see where they're overlapping. This one's got to go someplace else. If it's a filming task and it's not in London, this is super fast. Move it to the end of the schedule. Look at your entire Gantt chart. Look at where work ends. My favorite is leave 5 blank days. Doesn't matter what the last work was or who was working on that task. I don't care. Just give everybody 5 days vacation to make sure there's no trouble with travel. and then schedule the task that you're trying to move. Just tack it way on the end. You're not going to win any prizes for length of schedule, but that's not the point. We just want the congratulations message, and this is a very fast way to fix something like that. You can't necessarily do that if the filming task is in London, and the reason is that you film and then you tear down the set. And so if you were to take a filming task and move it to the end of the schedule, you would have to take the task striking the set and also take it out and move it even farther out and back, and then you might run into trouble with having more than 3 sound stages. And anyway, it's a little bit more complicated. You have to be a little bit more careful. But if it's not in London, super easy. Just tack it onto the back. Also, if you get any type of feedback that you're filming on a location before you prepared it, that is super easy to fix. Take the task that's prepping the location, like 68, 69, 70, 70, they tend to be those numbers in there. Or actually, 68 is the largest, like 66, 67, 68. Take the task for prepping the location and just change it back to the first day of the schedule. There's nothing that stops you not filming in London, but preparing locations. There's actually technically nothing that stops you from preparing all the locations starting on the first day. That work is then just done like you would mark it off of the your checklist or your precedence diagram, and that point forward you don't have to ever worry about scheduling something to film there when in fact you haven't prepared it, because you prepared everything on the first day. You're not going to win any contests for least amount of money if you do that, because that's the equivalent of running out there, blocking all the streets, renting all of the generators, starting to pay all of the businesses that you're blocking, right? Compensation for a location that you then don't actually get around to using for quite some time, and you have to pay the whole time. But again, we're just trying to get the congratulations message, right? This is just sort of an introduction to this type of problem. That's perfectly okay thing to do to gain feasibility. So on that happy note, you should be all set in your hunt for the congratulations message. Good luck. I'm looking forward to seeing the results.